Hello, my name is Henry Keane. This is News Pulse at UATV. Welcome to the Daily Show. Today in the episode, Ukraine's attacks on Russian oil infrastructure soared to the highest monthly level since this year, and surely more to come. Kremlin confessed it can't guarantee any security on 9th of May parade. Where is all Russian air defense? Well, we know the answer. European countries is going to form a naval alliance to counter Russian threats. More details in our story for you. Ukraine's attacks on Russian oil infrastructure soared to the highest monthly level since December, cutting Russia's refineries runs to multi-year lows. At least 21 Ukrainian strikes on Russian refineries, assets and sea, including export terminals and oil pipelines infrastructure in April, according to data compiled by Bloomberg on OSINT analysis basis. There were at least 9 successful strikes on Russia's oil processing industry in April, the highest monthly level since the start of this year. And that cut Russia's average refinery runs to 4.69 million barrels a day, the lowest since December 2009, as per Bloomberg.
This month, Ukraine returned to its late 2025 strategy of repeated attacks on selected Russian refineries. The data shows that approach maximizes damage to targeted oil processing facilities, preventing quick repairs. Ukraine also intensified its attacks on Russia's oil pipeline network, hitting at least 5 pumping stations in April, the data show. While that echoes strikes in late 2024 and 2025, Kiev hit oil pumping stations deep within Russia instead of those facilities that service export pipelines near the country's western borders. Reuters.
Fourth time in 2 weeks, maritime terminal in Russia's Tuapse attacked. Operations at Rosneft major Tuapse refinery in Russia's Black Sea coast were halted again, completely again, after these extremely successful attacks. More massive fires, as you can see. Literally, Putin's money is burning out. Tuapse authorities have been grappling with oil product spills, polluted rains and high levels of toxic substances in the air after the fires. They have advised residents against using unfiltered water and going outside. But the truth is, all this will stop quickly after Putin withdraws all his armies from Ukraine. And dictator Putin may use the ceasefire issue to push for the lifting of some sanctions, at least, says Zelensky, while Kyiv has received no signals from neither Russia nor the United States regarding actual peace negotiations and final stop to all hostilities, says Bloomberg.
I think Russia can raise the issue of a ceasefire in exchange for lifting sanctions on certain enterprises. I know that they are raising the issue of lifting the SWIFT sanctions so that their banks can work. Volodymyr Zelensky, president of Ukraine, in an interview with Bloomberg.
Putin's mouthpiece, Dmitry Peskov, says ceasefire comes regardless, as this is what Putin wants. The question here is rather rhetorical. Why now, comrade? It's parade, of course, or the parade in Russia's case. And the dictator Vladimir Putin will emit military hardware from it this year, for the first time in almost 2 decades, amidst fears his tanks and beloved nuclear missiles, those left operational at least, could be targeted right at the Red Square. The Kremlin's defense ministry confirmed late on Tuesday that Russia's May 9th parade would be scaled back, and there is actually a real reason behind the decision. The Russian capital, Moscow, was packed and ringed by the country's most sophisticated air defense systems, including long-range S-400 and S-300 surface-to-air missiles supported by Panzer S-1 gun missile systems. But Ukraine has claimed credit for degrading defense across the country. Alexander Syrsky, Ukraine's top commander, said on Sunday that Russia was seeing severe shortages of these systems. Air defense missiles, and Ukraine's relentless strike campaign overstretched its capabilities by far. Dmitry Peskov, the Kremlin spokes-Russian person, called this, I quote, Ukrainian terrorist activity. Well, let me translate that from the Kremlin language for you. What actually Peskov said is, I quote, against the backdrop of Russia's terrorist activity, anti-terrorist measures are being taken by Ukraine. Israeli grain importer Tuapse refused to accept a shipment of grain from the occupied territories of Ukraine. This is the first, but very important case in which a cargo of grain suspected of being stolen has been rejected and not unloaded in Israel. The vessel Penormetis carrying the cargo has left the port of Haifa for neutral waters, and Tuapse company said the Russian supplier of the weak cargo will be now forced to find another destination for unloading. Penormetis was carrying around 20,000 tons of barley and another 6,000 tons of wheat. The value of the cargo is estimated to be about $7 million. The Russian vessel with the stolen Ukrainian grain and its actual departure from Israel into neutral waters does not terminate the criminal responsibility of the perpetrators and does not in any way release those involved from accountability, as the Ukrainian Office of the Prosecutor General gently reminds.
This demonstrates that Ukraine's legal and diplomatic actions have been effective. We continue to track this particular vessel and warn everyone against any operations with it. We will also continue to ramp up international sanctions measures against Russia's shadow grain fleet. Andriy Sybiha, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, on X.
The United Kingdom and 9 more European nations have decided to form a multinational naval force. An alliance is announced by Admiral Sir Gwyn Jenkins, the First Sea Lord of the Royal Navy, in an interview with The Times. The goal of the new defense coalition is to deter potential threats from Russia and the northern maritime borders and to provide an immediate response if necessary. More details in our story for you.
The main threat to European security has been and remains Russia, according to Admiral Gwyn Jenkins, the commander of the Royal Navy of the United Kingdom. Therefore, 10 member states of the Joint Expeditionary Force, a coalition created for rapid response to crises in Northern Europe, the Baltic, and the Arctic, have signed a memorandum of intent to create multinational naval forces. The alliance will include the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Norway, Sweden, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. Canada is considering joining. The alliance aims to achieve combat readiness by 2029.
Over the past 2 years, the number of Russian incursions into our waters has increased by almost a third. The United Kingdom has an open maritime border with Russia to the north. The partnership of the northern European countries must now deepen and develop if they wish to create collective military power. Gwyn Jenkins, commander of the Royal Navy, from an interview with The Times.
Latvia's top priority is ensuring the security of air and maritime space, said Kaspars Pudans, the commander of the Latvian Armed Forces. He acknowledged the need to modernize national armed forces, and the planned transformations are already being tested during military drills. The military command is studying the experience of Ukraine's defense forces and adjusting its defense plans accordingly.
If we move forward only in one area, our capabilities will be limited. We value what we have: freedom. The key is not to doubt it. The circumstances have created pressure, forcing us to act in all directions to strengthen defense. This requires greater efforts from our servicemen, guards, and civilians.
Europe is already learning from Ukraine how to fight, but it needs to do it faster, says former head of the Ministry of Defense of Germany, Nico Lang. According to him, if Ukraine becomes part of Europe's defense shield, it could force Russia to abandon any future aggression. The foundation for such defense cooperation could be bilateral security agreements between Ukraine and the Baltic countries, outside the frameworks of NATO or the EU, but not in opposition to them.
Ukraine will help NATO's eastern flank, and NATO countries, thanks to their capabilities, will help Ukraine. There is a need to integrate Ukraine's missile defense and anti-aircraft systems with NATO's eastern flank into a unified network. This includes drone interception systems. These also need to be integrated into a unified system. Nico Lang, former chief of staff at the Ministry of Defense of Germany, from an interview with RBK Ukraine.
Poland plans to test its own weapons in real combat conditions on the Ukrainian front, said Deputy Minister of Defense Cezary Tomczyk. Warsaw is also considering joint production of drones with Kiev on Polish territory. Earlier, in early 2026, Kiev and Warsaw signed a declaration of intent to jointly produce weapons and ammunition. Former Polish President Andrzej Duda acknowledged Ukraine's unique military production. In April, he participated in the 18th Kiev Security Forum.
Now Ukraine have excellent cutting-edge, state-of-the-art military industry, especially taking into account how unique experiences Ukrainian military have now, and directly from the front line, from the war, yes, especially in drone technologies. So it's absolutely unique knowledge. I can say even exclusive knowledge. Now Ukrainian experts, engineers, and militaries have. So to share this experience with NATO experts, also with our Polish experts, is something absolutely precious for us, and it's very important for the successful development of our military capabilities.
Russia will attempt to sabotage Ukraine's agreements with partners within the framework of drone deals, said President Volodymyr Zelensky. Ukrainian intelligence has obtained documents that define Russia's actions to counter Ukraine's contacts with its partners. The Kremlin has set the goal of depriving Kyiv of access to investments and undermining bilateral security and weapons production agreements, the head of state noted. Russia will focus special efforts on counteracting Ukraine's cooperation with Middle Eastern countries, Zelensky said, reported by Kristina Dombrovska, UATV News.
Well, that's it for this day and for this week. My name is Henry Keane. Thank you so very much for your time dedicated to Ukraine during these 7 tense days. Please comment, like, subscribe to our channel to stay tuned to what the next week holds for all of us. UATV will be there to keep you posted on whatever that will be happening in Ukrainian perspective. Of course, stay tuned for more. Goodbye.